the audience.
Sure. Well, first of all, Kelvin, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And, you know, what you're doing at Commercial Club of Africa is really cool.
Yeah.
So very pleased to be part of this. Greetings, everybody who's tuned in, whether that's on YouTube or Google Meet. My name's Mark, as Kelvin said. I'm the CEO of Rooted Social. And we help people with AI lead generation, lead management, website building, all around the world. So a real pleasure to be here. Thanks, Kelvin.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what I will do quickly is I will run you through who we are at CCA, just so that you all have a good understanding of who we are. So I said my name is Kelvin, I'm founder and CEO. Extremely excited to be here. And maybe what I need to do now is talk to you about our mission and vision at CCA. So basically, we set up CCA because we wanted salespeople to have a home.
Yeah.
And so salespeople, which effectively is your part of a wider commercial team. And therefore, our vision basically is to nurture bold African commercial superstars.
Yeah.
And part of that vision of nurturing bold African commercial superstars is being able to provide them with the tools that they require to be able to be bold African commercial superstars, or superstars basically. And which is why this conversation today is important, because this is part of our sort of skilling and tooling people to make sure that everybody has the ability to run correctly, irrespective of what they're doing. And we have a simple philosophy, which is we want to feel like a fireplace. So we want to set up a fireplace where people can come together, break bread. That's sort of our mission, is to really set up a warm fireplace where people can come together. And so, for example, today's conversation should feel like we are, you know, in my sitting room or yours, or living room.
With the fire just here.
Fire just here.
Yeah.
Enjoying a lovely conversation, which then happens to be useful to guys, right?
Sure.
At CCA, we have 4 pillars. One is community, making sure that we have the right community. 2 is talent management, making sure that people have the right access to the right talent management tools.
Yeah.
We are rolling out a CPD framework, on continuous professional development framework. The third pillar is training, so we are launching Kenya School of Sales next week. And the 4th pillar is innovation. We are launching CCA Awards in December. Right?
Yeah.
And so extremely excited about the work that we're doing here. So in summary, we are a warm fireplace where people can come together.
Sure.
And we are all for learning and networking and making sure that people have the environment that is conducive for them to come and learn. Yeah. So enough about me. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, Mark?
Sure.
And your organization.
Sure. Thanks, Kelvin. So I'm Mark. I'm a Kenyan. I was born here in Kenya, which many people are shocked by. And I actually grew up here as well. So Kenya truly is my home and where my heart is.
Maybe at this point you should speak a bit of Swahili. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we will skip the habari yako. Why don't you say everything you said in Swahili? That you are Kenyan.
Habari zenu. Mimi anaitwa Mark. Nimezaliwa hapa. Nimesoma hapa. Mwenzangu iko hapa. Sasa mimi ni Mkenya kabisa.
I love it. I love it. Oh my, that's actually probably some of the best Swahili I've heard from somebody. I love it. It gets me every time you do that.
Anyway, I did go to the UK for university, for A-levels in university.
Yeah.
Where I was working in events and some other things, doing digital marketing, doing promotion, and started Rooted in 2023, 2 years after doing my master's, started Rooted. Pretty much looking to help people doing digital advertising. Now, this very quickly snowballed into, lead generation, where it's a lot more measurable.
Yeah.
We wanted to give people measurable results.
Yeah.
So going into 2024, we started the year really well, picked up quite a few clients, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And ended up being in a position where our clients were leaving us because we were generating them too many leads. So operationally, they really couldn't handle, 1, nurturing these leads, 2, effectively converting them and getting the most out of them, and 3, some of them were just far too busy, as in operational capacity was just not there.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, look, it's brilliant that we're getting our clients good results. But what kind of business model is this?
You guys are
The
leaving.
clients are leaving
You guys are
us.
leaving you because
So-
you way too much business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we realized that the real key part of it was the lead management.
Yeah.
So from that moment the lead inquires to then getting them into a meeting,
Yeah.
you know, that's where the biggest efficiency loss was.
Yeah.
And that's where we started developing our own tech,
Yeah.
looking around, looking at what tech was in the market,
Yeah.
you know, with the ultimate goal of delivering this to our clients. So fast forward to 2025, here we are sitting down with you, Kelvin. Thanks for having us once again. And this is what we do for people. We help people manage their leads, generate leads, manage them all the way through until meeting booking.
Okay.
And there's a quick little summary of Rooted.
Now, that's a lovely summary, and we're going to dial to sort of double click on some of those elements.
Sure.
And maybe what I would love to do now is give my own view of why lead management is important.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Please
guess
do.
maybe if you allow me to take 5 steps back on 10 steps back on where lead management sits within the wider sales ecosystem. So if you think of yourself as a salesperson, and I did start my sales journey 12 years ago in
Yeah.
Unilever.
Yeah.
As a territory manager selling Blue Band and Omo, Royco, Sunlight, etc., you know, running the good old distribution management system,
Sure.
running distributors and, you know, in territories, running sales reps, basically. And obviously then, you know, growing up the ranks and getting to a point where we are now talking to I ended up being a commercial director in my last role. And no longer working with sales reps, but working with the managers who are probably responsible for the managers who are responsible for the sales reps.
Yeah.
And at that level, irrespective of whatever level we are talking about, as a rep, you still have to manage leads because you're looking for business.
Sure.
As a manager, you then have a territory that you're looking after. Of course, leads are important. And this is me assuming an FMCG business model, which is very, you know, door to door, right?
Sure, sure.
But even if you are a tech salesperson or a bank, a financial services salesperson, you still have to get and find business, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And every time I talk to people today, they tell me that the biggest opportunity for their businesses is managing leads, is getting additional leads because they want
Sure.
more business.
Yeah, yeah.
And the business challenge in their business is getting more business, is getting more leads. So the biggest opportunity is also the biggest challenge as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
And the question then has always been, how do we ensure that we are using technology correctly, right? And the question is there a world where you as salespeople do not have to be out in the streets,
Yeah.
knocking on doors and doing cold
Yeah, yeah.
cold outbound? And is there a world where you could actually do all of that, or technology could actually do all of that heavy lifting and all of that dirty work? So that, and I call it dirty respectfully,
Yeah, yeah.
where we then leave salespeople to do the actual act of selling, because I don't think
Sure.
selling is knocking on doors.
Sure.
I think selling is converting, and selling is adding value and value creation.
Yeah.
So that's my own view from a salesperson's perspective. And before we get into the solution, etc., and what it is that you guys do, it would be important to hear your view on
Sure.
on contextualizing lead management
Yeah.
in the wider ecosystem of sales. What is
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
you?
Well, I think you're 100% right. It's every business's biggest challenge and biggest need, isn't it? You need to hit those numbers. And at the end of the day, I would think, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's so much pressure to hit these numbers. It's a numbers game, right? If you want to grow your business, you know you need 100 leads, and out of those 100 leads, you need 40 meetings, or what, you know, whatever your sort of percentages. And it really is just making sure you hit those numbers month after month.
Yeah.
And I think, look, it's not to say humans aren't needed in this process. I think by no means. It's more about how can technology improve humans' ability to, as you say, drive value
Yeah.
and ultimately sell these things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, lead management is
Super.
throughout time, right? It's
Yeah.
been...
Irrespective of the business you are in, and irrespective also if you're a salesperson or not.
Sure.
Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we
literally.
all have leads, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about a young man trying to get married. You'll have multiple leads, and you'll have a pipeline of people who could potentially marry you. That's an old age example. But I think the point I'm making is that every person has, irrespective of what it is that you're doing,
sure.
At whatever level in the organization, lead management is important. Now, why don't you therefore walk us through, let's see, so why don't you therefore walk us through about lead management in the new age, in the 22nd century, in the AI century? What does lead management look like?
I don't know, can we get the presentation up here? It's being played on the other side.
Yeah, but you could you could run it on yours.
Good stuff. So hopefully everybody's looking at the same screen that I am.
Yeah.
Can you see it there, Kelvin?
I'll give you a minute. Just give me 1 second. Can I see it running?
It should say 79% of marketing leads never convert due to lack of proper nurturing.
Let's see. Yeah.
Hopefully we're on that slide.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, just make the slide bigger if you don't mind. But yeah, I can see that. I can see a rooted slide.
Cool. Well, I think this is a really interesting place to start.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of companies are really analyzing, all right, what are our conversion rates, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of stat from a company like HubSpot, you know, they deal with millions and millions of leads.
Yeah.
I think really emphasizes the need for proper management. And I think to unpack this a little bit, if we look at how we're going to structure this talk, firstly, understanding what lead management is and how it sort of evolved. I think we're going to dive all the way back into the 1500s.
Oh, nice.
Then looking at why we need AI lead management, or kind of how we've reached this point, and then we can discuss a little bit about what we do for people. So looking at what lead management is, I think implicitly we all kind of know, you know, it's about managing people who are interested, or looking for people who are interested in your products. I think the key part is that it's systematic. You know, it can't be just a scattergun approach. I don't think that really works. I think there has to be an organization of leads, even if that's a Google sheet. You know, I think in terms of lead management, there has to be some kind of database. And I think really is the purpose of lead management is to enable tactics to better reach and better resonate with these leads through your pipeline. And actually, just quickly on that, I know we use the word lead a lot, and I think that can be dehumanizing. I think it is important also to remember through these conversations, they are people, and they're people interested in your product and service.
So just to lean in on that a bit, so this has to be systematic. There has to be a process behind it. What was that thing you said?
It needs to enable personalization.
It needs to enable personalization. What does that mean in Swahili? No, but what does that mean in simple English?
You know, what that means really is every person is different. And that's why I think even using the word lead can be a bit misleading. Misleading, excuse the pun. You know, every person is different, has different needs, different budgets, you know, etc., etc. And so without a systematic way to manage them, there's no way you'll ever be able to track. Do you see what I mean?
I do. I see what you mean. Clear.
And if we look back to where we were, the ancient origins of lead management, merchants, you know, they would have even passed through Lamu. And as this Tao would have come into Lamu, the merchants would have either written down or remembered that Lamu guys love to buy tobacco or whatever it was that they were trading. And this was the sort of first premonition of, we want to tailor our service to the audience.
So we would pass through Lamu with salt. You probably don't sell salt to Lamu. Tobacco, you said.
Tobacco.
And then on our way to Mombasa, we probably pass by Malindi. But Malindi people don't want tobacco. They probably want grain.
Exactly.
And so you then
Yeah.
they would still have the grain,
Sure.
but then they would sell they would offer the tobacco to the Lamu people,
Exactly.
and then they would offer the grain to the people in Malindi.
Exactly.
That's the
And they would
personalization you're talking about.
exactly, and they would keep a ledger of it, so they would have an idea
Yeah.
all the way up
Or
Africa's
they would keep
east
a ledger
coast.
of it.
Exactly.
So they'd actually have a process to it. They would
Oh,
have
100%.
a
Yeah.
good old CRM system.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that does bring us on to then the Rolodex. Now,
Yeah.
this is my dad's generation.
Yeah.
You know, where there was like whatever those small cards are called, and you flip through.
It was
to
actually called an actual roller deck.
yeah, Rolodex. Yeah, exactly. And paper-based systems.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s, I think the first digital system was created. Really, in the 90s is where it properly kicked off with Salesforce.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest CRM in the world.
Still probably is question is for how long more.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Yeah.
then 2000s with the dot-com bubble, I think we saw a lot more cloud-based stuff.
Yeah.
And then 2010s, you know, this is when already AI started to come into this. I think it wasn't a hit word back then.
Yeah.
People were probably a little bit more scared of it than they are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2010s until now is AI in CRMs.
Yeah.
So what
sorry,
does
so on that
all good, all good.
Let's talk CRM quickly. Let's
Sure.
break down what CRM is.
Sure.
Because I think it would be important to not assume that everybody understands
Sure.
what CRM is.
Sure.
What is it? What does it do? Why do you need it?
Customer relationship management.
System.
Hopefully that says enough
Yeah.
to people listening.
Yeah.
But, you know, in a way,
Yeah.
it's a database of all of your leads and a
Yeah.
very nice way for you to interact with that database.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially it provides you the tools that you need to personalize outreach somewhat, depends what CRM you're using, but essentially organize your leads and track them through the funnel. And I think the sort of analysis and tracking part has become a lot more important in the last, say, 7, 8, 9 years with this explosion of data and data points.
Clear. Previously, though, before AI,
Yeah.
what would happen is, let's say, give me a business. You sell, you run, give me any business.
Any business. I sell potatoes.
You sell potatoes, right? Or but where you're not selling potatoes on the roadside.
Okay, I'm a supermarket.
Let's even say you're a distributor.
Okay,
And you distribute potatoes.
Sure.
And you're looking to sell the potatoes to, because if you're a roadside guy, I don't think you're going to have a CRM system.
Yeah,
But
soon.
if you're a distributor, you need a CRM.
Okay, yeah.
So you are a distributor. You are a distributor of potatoes, and you sell potatoes to supermarkets, right?
Sure.
And to retailers and to mini distributors, etc. Right? So
Sure.
you're a massive distributor. You want to sell potatoes. Your CRM is going to have a list of all potential customers who could buy potatoes from you. So you're
Yeah.
going to have the Naivas, the Carrefour, the Chandrana, etc. And the CRM is then going to categorize who are already buying customers, who are not buying customers, and the ones who are not buying, it's then going to categorize them for you.
Exactly.
In a manner who are advanced in conversations, who are just gotten
Sure.
into the pipeline, etc. Right?
Sure.
But before AI, you'd still have to do the work of getting into the CRM and updating the CRM.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And talking to those leads and calling them and making sure that they are up and running and that they're doing what you want, right? So the CRM really just becomes a database
Sure.
or a manual way of managing contacts, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
So what I would like to now understand is where has that gotten to in today's age? Maybe you will get to that point.
Yeah, no, I will. And I think you're right. And that actually really emphasizes my next point is, I think originally we probably didn't have as many data points as we have now.
Yeah.
We probably had timeline to buy, budget, hot, medium, cold.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. It was actually hot, medium, cold.
Yeah.
And you never know what medium is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have a real problem with data. We have the data challenge, which I think is why AI is taking such precedence. And really, there's, I would say, 5 main reasons for this. First of all, volume. As I was saying, there's exponential growth in customer data points.
Yeah.
Velocity in terms of how quickly people can inquire and how quickly people expect responses. With the smartphone age, this has been crazy.
Yeah.
Variety, you've got so many different data points now to touch on. That could be how they interacted on your website, how long they spent on your website, what Instagram posts they like.
Yeah.
And this is just a tiny window into, all the data you can track across your customers and potential customers. This means complexity is a big issue as well, and something that humans, we are amazing. We created AI, we trained AI, but we trained it because it's much better at doing things like analysis than we are, at crunching large amounts of data. So this sets the scene, if you will, perfectly for now moving from what I would call automations, perhaps tasks that are structured. So if X is X, then they are moved to this category.
Yeah.
This is what we would say is an automation. AI is okay at this, but we don't.
It was just programmed. It was really not automated.
Exactly, right? This is hard coded in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Whereas what AI really excels in is like unpredictable tasks, right?
Yeah.
So we've got this huge challenge of data, but I would say probably the biggest challenge is reaching people who have inquired within a certain time frame. Now, Go High Level calls this speed to lead, the 5-minute golden rule.
Yeah.
And what they refer to in this, and I'm sure there's articles online if anybody wants to read, is if you don't reach the lead within 5 minutes, your chances of success dramatically reduce.
Oh,
I think the data was 78% less likely for them to...
If you don't reach the lead within 5 minutes.
From them inquiring with your business.
Because they have so much option. They have this much attention span.
I think that's the main point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Attention span, and I think even I'm liable to this. I expect things instantly these days.
100%. If your data is not loading,
you get annoyed, don't you?
My internet provider must be.
JDL.
Clear.
So. And there's this Harvard Business Review point as well. The average lead response time is 42 hours, while the conversion rates drop dramatically after just 1 hour. So we've got these challenges.
So let's just contextualize that.
Sure.
So you have all this data, you have so much data, you have a massive pipeline.
Sure.
You have a programmed system it's programming, but you still have to go in and hard code it.
Sure.
And then you have a response time that's 42 hours, you're saying.
Yeah. Average response time.
And I think 42 hours you're being kind with 42 hours because
sure.
I mean businesses close on Friday. And come back on Monday,
what happens if you get an inquiry on Friday night?
If you get an inquiry on Friday night, that will only be dealt with at best on Monday morning. Right?
Sure.
That's a 48-hour, maybe more.
Yeah.
Delay. Right? Your customer has probably looked for something else.
I would certainly say, perhaps the older generation, like my dad's generation,
will probably be a bit more patient.
A lot more relaxed with this.
Yeah.
But I think the truth of the matter is, the majority of, especially the audience in Kenya, are younger people. And we all have smartphones and we all use Instagram and we all see loads of adverts every single day. We all have loads of choice. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what's going to make us or CCA or whoever it may be stand out versus the alternatives? I think probably the most important thing is making that person who's just inquired feel heard, feel attended to. Exactly.
And move them quickly to decision making and to purchase making.
Exactly.
Okay. Clear.
Exactly.
Clear.
So, what does this mean? Where can AI help with all of these challenges? Really, it can help across the full spectrum. So I would say from generating leads, so i.e. using AI to identify customers that are high intent or looking for your product.
Yeah.
This could be what they're searching on Google, what they're interacting with on Facebook, and we'll get that data. Qualifying the lead, super important, and something AI can do 24/7.
Yeah.
Nurturing
what
that
does
lead.
Qualify mean?
So, Kelvin, you don't want me to just send you 100 leads.
Yeah.
You want 5 leads who are perfect
Well,
for
perfect
your
for my
business.
So I sell potatoes, remember, right?
Yeah, sure.
you want people who already are looking for potatoes, right? You do not want a hardware shop
Exactly.
given to me as a lead for me to just realize, by the way, they were a hardware shop or they
But
were an ice cream shop. Or
Not only
whatever.
that, you probably, as a big distributor, don't want anybody who won't buy at least 100,000 potatoes
Fair
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah?
100,000 bags of potatoes.
Exactly. Yeah, sorry. 100,000 bags of potatoes. So qualifying the lead is all about making sure for them to get in a meeting with you that they actually
have gone
fit
through
your
these
criteria.
They are in the business of selling vegetables or stuff,
Sure.
food. They are not a hardware shop or an
Exactly.
IT company.
Exactly.
They have the financial capacity.
Yeah.
They have the distribution power, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that criteria is,
Exactly.
that's what you call qualification of leads.
Qualification, yeah.
Cool.
And I would say alongside qualification comes nurturing.
Yeah.
This is making sure the leads answers questions are answered.
Yeah.
You know, making sure they're attended to and feel valued, right?
Yeah.
Like for anybody to feel like they're happy to give you money,
Yeah.
you know, you probably need to like that person or like that business or at least feel heard and listened to.
Clear.
Um,
So what are those 3 points?
so that's generation,
yeah,
qualification,
and
nurturing. Now there's also conversion, like helping people get over the line.
Yeah.
This is like real-time recommendations for sales reps. For example, if an AI agent booked a meeting for you, that AI would then also send the notes to the sales rep who's having that meeting. So when they get into that meeting, their chances of conversion are way higher.
Yeah.
Now, retention, this is like using predictive analysis to identify clients that are in different stages of their client journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, perhaps upselling or cross-selling. And I think for businesses that rely heavily on recurring revenue, I'm thinking about insurance companies here, you know, this is a very important thing. I think a lot of insurance companies, probably 90% at least of their revenue is from recurring customers.
Yeah.
So AI could massively help in this area. Lastly, analysis. This is continuous learning to improve. So, you know, based off all of your learnings from all of your conversations with your leads, the AI is going to understand, right, this is what's the biggest pain point is, this is the biggest objection, etc. And so you're really well placed going forward. Now, we do all of these things at Rooted.
I was wondering why you're giving us all of this. So, but before we get into Rooted, I think let's just go through those 6 pieces. I think there were 6.
Sure.
So there's generation, qualification, nurturing. Retention was in there somewhere?
Yeah. Qualification, generation, qualification, nurturing, conversion, retention, and analysis. Exactly.
Cool. So, potato business.
Yeah.
You, I want to get more businesses that can buy 100,000 bags of potatoes from me.
Sure.
And so I send out my AI to go and generate leads, right?
Sure.
So where does it go? Or is that what you're going to do with the Rooted part of this?
That's a good point. Yeah, I will get onto the exact workings of how we would go about working with potato distributor. What I wanted to quickly touch on all of those points is the competitive advantage that's gained, right? And we've pulled some different research. So McKinsey, you know, the big consulting firm, average cost reduction of 40 to 60% in lead qualification processes for companies using AI.
Average cost reduction. Now, what you're saying is that the amount of money I'm spending per lead
40 to 60% less.
40 to 60% less, right? Now, there are salespeople on the call or who are watching this that will not like to hear this because effectively means that some part of how we are reducing cost is that we are no longer needing people on the streets selling.
Sure.
Correct?
Sure.
Or we're also not spending as much time as we were previously, and therefore the amount, because time equals money, right?
Sure.
The amount of company time and resource we were utilizing is a lot less, right? What else could be leading to cost reduction?
Well, I think, look, the longer a lead is in the pipeline, I would say this is costing the business money. It's even just through a sales rep having to keep following them up. You know, this in itself is a massive inefficiency for a business. So even just having them move through the pipeline quicker by AI nurturing and qualifying them,
Yeah.
you're seeing huge efficiency gains.
Fair point. Fair point.
Now, in regards to your point about we don't need people in the streets, I think this is a very sensitive topic, and I think, you know, we've been at this stage multiple points in, you know, our humanity.
Every technology that comes
Exactly.
brings about this question.
And I think there's two ways to look at it. You know, I think one way you can complain and say, oh, I'm going to lose my job. I think this isn't a very good plan. You know, I would say a good plan is to start teaching yourself and understanding how you can use AI to improve your skills. You know, if AI is going to do the dirty work, as you called it, for you, well, then you can spend a lot more time, you know, refining your presentations, refining your pitch,
Yeah.
you know, improving your chance of actually converting that lead in the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not that people aren't needed. No, no, no.
They're just needed for higher quality, higher level work, right?
Exactly.
Which actually means that the company is making more money, that you're also happier because then you're doing work that is
I
really
think that's
matters if you see it as
the
well.
biggest point, you know. And even if we look inwards at Rooted, like don't get me wrong, you know, we've got a good structure now as a business. We've got Jerry, our head of sales in Kenya, Jay and Julian both working with us, all in the sales team. But it started off with me doing cold calls, and you know, I know how much it sucks. Jerry did the same. He knows how much it sucks. Jerry did plenty of work like in-person activations. If you speak to Jerry, I hope you're watching. He will tell you that he's enjoying things a lot more because
Yeah.
he's now attending meetings with
and
client-
having constructive, productive business conversations.
rather than continuous, you know.
Hi, my name is Jerry.
Yeah.
Me again.
And also, I must say, you know, taking no for an answer does get pretty brutal.
No, it does. It
And
does.
you know, if AI can take the no and we just enjoy the yeses, you know, that's
That's a good way of looking at it. AI can take the no. I should write that down. I really should write that down. AI takes the no, and we enjoy the yeses. I love it. I love it. That you should write that on a T-shirt. Fantastic, good stuff.
Sure.
Anyway, I think we need to move along.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So anyway, you're giving us some statistics. I think they're very interesting on the 40 to 60% less cost. What else?
Sure. 37% average increase in sales after implementing AI lead management. That was from MIT.
Yeah.
300% return on investment reported by companies within the first year of AI lead management. I think that's actually a low figure. I would say that's higher than 300%.
Yeah.
47% reduction in customer acquisition costs. That's definitely the case for Rooted, as in for our own business.
Yeah.
Our cost of acquiring customers is drastically reduced.
Yeah.
Companies with advanced AI lead management capabilities are 2.8 times more likely to grow market share. I think that, you know, basically supports every other stat there.
Yeah.
So, look, I think that we could go through stats all day, and, you know, on the face of it, AI lead management looks amazing. You're going to, you know, 100x your business. There are challenges to it. Like, let's not get too.
As is with any sales infrastructure process,
Sure.
etc. There will be
Exactly.
challenges, and I'm keen to get into those.
Yeah.
What else do you have there?
That was all for my stats.
Oh, that was all for the stats.
That
right?
was all.
I think the summary of summaries is there is demonstrated evidence that AI, or
100%.
technology, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
technology,
Yeah.
intelligent technology,
Yeah.
is gonna do a lot better at the things that human beings are not good at.
Definitely.
Data,
Yeah.
persistence, consistency, being there. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't get tired.
Exactly.
Doesn't-
Scalability.
It doesn't ask for a day off.
Yeah.
You don't need. You could be talking to 20 customers or 20,000 customers. You decide.
Sure.
Etc. Clear. So I think we have a pretty good grasp of lead management. We
Sure.
have a pretty good grasp of why lead management is important. We have a lovely good grasp of the process, all the
Sure.
way from generation to analysis. We have a good grasp of the statistics in terms of why it is important and demonstrated
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah.
What else would you like to talk to us about?
I think very quickly on some of the key challenges
Yeah.
that we're facing, and we can revisit this right at the end when we
Yeah.
talk about sort of the ethics as well. And then I'd love to show you what it looks like in reality,
Yeah.
you know, a production ready system. I would say my Instagram, my YouTube is flooded with people chatting about AI,
Yeah.
but actually seeing production ready systems is a different thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that. But very quickly, production ready systems are very hard to build. AI still hallucinates a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone who uses ChatGPT can testify
Tell me
to that.
about it.
Yeah.
Stop telling me this.
Yeah. Caps lock on, caps lock on, going for it. I'm always kind to mine, just in case one day they...
It takes over. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine called George, and I was saying, please use the words like please and thank you.
Oh, we must, you must, because one day they'll be like... Some of those stats look amazing. It does take time to get to there. You know, you're looking at a year, for example. Some of those stats are like over a year, so it's not just a golden ticket. Integration complexities, I think you need professionals to do this, because you don't want to just allow AI to look at your private company information without proper guidelines in place.
Yeah.
Data quality and governance, that just reiterates that point. User adoption, I think there's still legislation coming on AI, so, you know, to an extent, it is wise to be cautious and to really engage professionals, I think. So those are some of the challenges. But why don't we look at AI lead management in real life? So what we do at Rooted every single day.
Yeah.
So we generate leads, we qualify leads, and we book meetings for our clients. Now, that is pretty simple on the face of it.
So you generate leads, qualify leads.
We qualify leads, we book appointments, and we do lead research for people as well.
So me, potato distributor.
Sure.
I come to you as Rooted.
Sure.
And I would like you to be my lead management supplier.
Sure.
Or technician or partner, right? So walk me through that.
The process.
Yeah, the process. Yeah.
Sure. Number one, lead generation.
Yeah.
High intent lead generation.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that everything begins and ends with your audience.
Yeah.
Right? You must have a pretty good understanding of who you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
You need to tell us that. And I think if you've been in the potato business for a few years, you're going to have a very good understanding
of who you're targeting.
Of who you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
You know that, hey, I tried these guys and it wasn't good. I only want supermarkets who can afford 100,000 bags a week.
Yeah.
What we do as a company is we take this ideal customer profile and we go to Google, we go to Facebook, Instagram, and all of the big data brokers, and we buy data on that ideal customer profile. And a really good way to think about this is you have your declared information. So this is like
your birthday,
exactly, your name, your email.
Work, etc.
This is very basic. I think you can really see this for anybody.
Yeah.
Where these guys really make their money and where they, get a lot of data is through website codes. So Facebook has the Facebook Pixel and Google has the Google Tag. These are codes that go in the header of websites, and they feed back to the companies how that user is interacting on that website. So if you think about it, your bank will have it, your airline will have it, your Greenspoon or whoever will have it.
Yeah, your e-commerce website, etc. will have all of that, yeah.
And this allows Facebook an incredibly in-depth understanding of Facebook, Meta, Google, everybody, a very in-depth understanding of your behaviors, like who are you flying with, who do you bank with, how often do you fly, how often do you shop, and all of these data points are then crunched by Pulsar platforms. So we're the exclusive agents for them in East Africa, and they're a media monitoring company, but we use this data specifically for digital advertising. So I know that's a lot to take in, but we take your ideal customer profile, we buy the data from Facebook and Google, and then we use that data to run adverts targeted at those people.
So, potato seller. I'm a distributor for potatoes.
You want decision makers?
I want decision makers. I want restaurants. I sell potatoes to restaurants.
Sure.
Right?
So you want decision makers in restaurants?
Owners of restaurants.
Sure.
I want F&B managers.
Yeah.
I want procurement managers.
Sure.
People with decision-making ability.
Where?
Right?
In Nairobi?
So that's a good question. I want them in Nairobi.
Just on Waiyaki Way?
I want them in Nairobi as a starting
Sure,
point. So
okay.
let's do Nairobi as a starting
Sure.
point. So what does your system do? Or how does your system take care of it?
So, all of these people will have a digital presence
Yeah.
and will be able to buy this data and target them using adverts, digital adverts, to basically get them to sign up for your service or inquire for your
So
service.
you will go and find these people.
We
these
will find these
actual
people.
specific people on
Exactly.
Meta.
Yeah.
Right? Because chances are they'll probably have an Instagram account or Facebook account.
Not chances, they will.
They will definitely
Yeah.
have an Instagram or Facebook account. What do they so then you target those specific people
Exactly.
as opposed to running blind ads on Instagram, etc.
Sure.
You're targeting specific people on
Very-
Instagram and Facebook.
Very, very specific. I mean, more specific than you could ever get if you were just running your own ads on Ads Manager.
So I am an F&B manager for Morven Peak Hotel.
Sure.
Right.
And you're sitting on your lunch break.
And I'm sitting on my lunch break here, huh?
And you're scrolling on your Instagram,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and you've just been telling
Yeah.
your guy that the potatoes you're getting are terrible,
Yeah,
and you need new
I
potatoes.
need better potatoes. Or I need my supplier is just not supplying me now, or I have a problem with my
Whatever the need may be,
yeah.
our algorithm typically is so good that it will reach you in those moments where you feel like your phone is listening to you, and you'll
But how
see
do
in
I know, Mark,
Yeah.
that my phone is not listening to me?
Look, Facebook officially says that it isn't.
Yeah.
Who really knows, Kelvin?
Okay.
I think, to be honest,
Yeah.
you're sitting there on your phone.
Mm.
And you see that ad, and it's at the right place and the right time. New
just-
potato supplier.
Yeah. Basically, click here to buy potatoes.
Inquire now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a very basic
Example.
example, but we do this for insurance companies. We do this for real estate companies selling millions of dollars. So
Okay.
I think a lot of people's hesitation is, can I really reach decision makers on Facebook and Instagram? And I think the reality is, of course you can. Really it's wealthy people with smartphones, it's wealthy people with internet access. These are
Yeah.
the people with social media accounts.
And they're the decision makers.
Decision makers.
Okay, cool. So I think we've covered the generation,
Sure.
the qualification piece we've covered already as an actual example, using the potato example.
Sure.
What else? So what's the next step from there?
So once somebody now sees your advert
Yeah,
and inquires,
yeah,
they go straight into your CRM, your customer relationship management software.
yeah,
Now, before, it would be one of your sales team. When they get to work in the morning, they'll reach out to them.
yeah.
Now we offer a fully integrated AI qualification service. So this fully integrates with your CRM software. It'll reach out to that lead within 5 minutes of them inquiring on WhatsApp, email, or SMS. And it's completely personalized to the pre-qualification questions they answered, the context of your business or your specific service or product you're trying to sell, and then they're walked through the qualification nurturing process. So how does this work? We build a vector database of all of your company information that's relevant. Yeah, closed loop, completely closed loop system. The AI will then obviously contextualize this knowledge it has about your business and what it knows about the people who are messaging it, i.e. these are people interested in this service.
Yeah.
And what's really important here is that it qualifies the leads. So you will tell me, Mark, I only want people who can afford 100,000 bags. I only want people who are based on Waiaki Way.
Waiaki Way.
And they must have been in business for 3 years, at least 3 years. Whatever your qualification criteria
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah.
Now, we must ensure, as that lead is being talked to, that it answers those 3 questions before it goes ahead and books a meeting. So that's a super important part.
Okay.
Now, the AI is super clever. If the lead says, I want to switch to email,
Yeah, it is no problem. Send me your email address. I'll pop you an email.
exactly. But most importantly, remembers the history of the chat before.
Yeah.
The AI is also so customizable, and I think a lot of people don't really like talking to AI.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's got to a stage now where you wouldn't know. And we could train the AI to
Speak like you.
speak like us or make, occasional spelling mistakes or whatever you would like. I mean, really, it's infinite.
You want it to start sentences in small letters because that's what you're used to doing. It will start sentences in small letters.
Yeah, exactly.
For real?
Exactly. Yeah, genuinely. Like anything you want.
If you want it to have a small delay so it doesn't feel like it's too on your face,
yeah.
you'll
Also,
put in a delay amount.
We see a lot of people message our AI twice.
Yeah.
So it's like they'll send a message and then another one,
Just because they're not sure they'll get
Exactly. So you can now train it only give one response for both answers,
Okay.
both questions.
Okay.
So, it's essentially infinite, the possibilities of training this AI. And then personally, I think probably the coolest bit is the way it books a meeting. It doesn't just send you a link and say, go on this link and book a time that works.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because I don't really like that, personally.
Yeah. It doesn't send you a Calendly link and tells you, go into my calendar, you book a time in my calendar.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's completely conversational. It says, Kelvin, this sounds great. We could be a good match.
Yeah.
How does Thursday at 9 a.m. work for you?
And I say, no, as a matter of fact, Thursday 9 a.m. I have something else.
Yeah.
What does it say?
How about Friday 10 a.m.?
I go like Friday 10 a.m. doesn't work, but I could do Tuesday the week after at 1 p.m.
Sure. So it's conversational. I think that's the most important thing. And again, something that probably will make people think it is a human.
And it says 1 p.m. is fine. Then what happens after that?
1 p.m. is fine. It'll then set up the Zoom link or the Google Meeting link.
Yeah.
It'll then send, of course, confirmation email to both the person having the meeting and the lead, and give it the chance to reschedule. And even if that lead was to message the AI up to like 5 minutes, I think you can even change it to 2 minutes before the meeting, saying, so sorry, I can't make it. That's absolutely fine. The AI will just reschedule the meeting. So it's a very waterproof solution, if you will.
Fantastic.
It's pretty amazing, to be honest. And I think if people are on the same slide we are, there were some stats here of our own lead generation in the last month.
What slide should we be on?
Lead qualification and meeting booking slide.
Yeah, so we're there.
So total leads, 255, of which 85
This is your own data.
This is Rooted Social Limited's lead generation stats from last month. 255 inquiries, of which 85 are still being nurtured by the AI. 61% of those 255 booked a meeting. So you can do the maths on how many meetings Jerry had last month. Response rate 74%, unbelievable. And opt-out rate 5.4%. So
What's opt-out rate?
basically people who are like, actually, sorry, this isn't for me.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Post-conversation.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'd love it if somebody could show me some stats better than that, that's done manually.
The human.
By a human, yeah.
That a human
I think
enables.
it's nearly impossible.
Fair point.
Yeah, I mean, over 120 meetings in a month is pretty significant. So the efficiency and power of this is...
No, it sounds very good. A bit too good to be true.
I think that's genuinely an issue for us. Even selling it is like...
people think, come on.
Yeah. It's like, you can't even have 120 meetings.
And therefore, I think I want to talk about risks and ethics, and I'm conscious of time as well.
Sure.
But I think let's talk about what happens at the meeting. So who shows up at the meeting? When I log into the call,
Sure.
do I find an AI robot? Of course not. I hope not.
Of course not. So, it's whichever sales rep or whoever you need to be linked into that meeting. And you'll be sent just before the meeting an email with, this is the conversation we've had with the lead, or the AI's had with the lead.
Yeah.
These are the pain points. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
By the time now, Kelvin, you get in that meeting,
Yeah.
if you don't close that, your manager's going to be unhappy.
Then there's something wrong with me. Yeah? If I don't close that, because this lead is super ready.
Exactly.
They're super qualified.
They've met all your criteria.
They've met all my criteria.
Yeah.
So they're ready to buy.
Literally.
They're really not asking me what my product is. They're asking specifics about timelines, credit periods,
Exactly.
etc., right?
Exactly.
Or they just want an assurance to see the face behind the brand etc, right?
Definitely human interaction is
Interaction is
so
important.
crucial to really get
Super.
people over the line, yeah.
And this works for people in any industry.
I would say it can be adapted to absolutely any industry. You know, I think when you're talking about things like even selling private helicopters, you know, we've got a client who's a helicopter distributor. Even at that level, it is extremely efficient.
It's qualifying helicopter buyer.
Yeah.
Surely it can sell potatoes.
You can sell whatever you want. But I think the crucial thing is you got to have a human.
You gotta have a human, which is I think it would be a good place to sort of take a pause here and just take stock of what we've discussed so far. So
Sure.
what you're saying, just if anybody is logging in right now, is we have moved away from the days when you need to have people on the street selling.
Yeah.
You could have people on the street selling, but especially for B2B businesses, I think it's important for us to focus on the actual work of selling
Sure.
and not the actual work of looking for people to sell to.
Exactly. Exactly. A very good point.
And what is that point I wrote that should go on a t-shirt? Which should be, you should let AI handle the no's
Yeah.
while we enjoy the yes. I like that one. You've
Sure.
given us a whole lot of stats, which I think is super, super critical and important to drive believability as well. And you've walked us through the process, right?
Sure.
From how the AI is integrated in every part of the system, right?
Sure.
So I think my last 2 or 3 questions would be, one, ethics. Is this ethical at all?
Yeah.
I think if I was talking to my dad about this, he'd be like, but sounds like cheating. Yeah. I think, so please, let's start with the ethics.
Is it ethical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see why it isn't ethical, to be honest. It's essentially doing tasks that take us a lot of time and are very difficult, you know. It allows us to focus on closing deals.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. What are the ethical risks? I think the ethical risks are allowing AI into your data, allowing AI to sort of freewheel, if you will, and, you know, sort of lead the conversation itself. And this is why it's super important when I talk about production-ready models, that you don't just implement any chatbot you see on the internet. You know, I think you've got to be pretty careful with
Clear.
what data you're allowing into that.
Clear. And I think the second last question is on data, which
Sure.
you've actually spoken about.
Sure.
But how do we ensure, what guardrails do we put in place for data? So me who sells
Yeah.
potatoes, right?
Yeah.
How do I make sure that my data is not out there being run by an AI that I do not know about, that I'm not conscious about, that I'm not comfortable with, etc.?
Yeah.
And how, what's your advice on guardrails?
Sure. I mean, okay, there's 2 different elements to this. There's personal data,
Yeah.
which you sign away every time you click the terms and conditions, which you never read.
Personal data is gone.
Yeah, but I think, look, the way I see it, personalization is great.
Yeah.
I would much rather ads that fit my needs than just random billboards. Like, for example, billboards, I think, are such an eyesore.
Yeah.
You know, rarely do they actually meet my needs. They're just these huge, you know, adverts. You're like, it's not very nice, I would say.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, personalized ads, which is what this personal data allows.
Okay.
In terms of AI, it's super important, again, to, you know, not just feed any AI your data and have either a closed loop system or a self-hosted large language model or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a whole conversation on self-hosted
Yeah, no,
large language
definitely, yeah.
models, etc.
Yeah,
And I know we are, we probably have another 4 or 5 minutes of this.
sure.
And so, what would I like to do with the next 4 or 5 minutes? I would like to, fortunately, because of the technology we are using today, we are not able to get questions from the audience.
Shame.
But what would be useful is maybe put up your QR code of how people get up to you.
Sure.
Not you.
What slide are we on now?
We are on where this space is headed.
Sure. Okay, so we missed the AMI because we had a really good case study on African Management Institute. But if anyone's interested, just I'll put a QR code up and you can have a look at that.
Yeah.
Where this space is headed, I think further vertical integration of AI, so what they would call AI as a software engineer, for example, that ASWE, they could build full stack apps, smarter, more personalized journeys, and better governance, I think, super important.
Better governance is important, and I think the way we will get more clients, or the way we'll get more people interested, is continuously thinking through governance and
Sure.
how we make people comfortable with it.
Exactly.
I think that's super important. I think the other one is, you spoke about
AI vertical integration. Yeah.
What does that mean? What does vertical integration mean?
I mean, you could think about it like, somebody who can access multiple apps or multiple programs and use all of these multiple apps to then build something. So the one that's most imminent is ChatGPT or OpenAI's ASWE, AI as a software engineer, which will be an agent that will literally be able to build an app for you from bottom to top. Yeah.
And that's vertical integration, because they're
Exactly.
taking multiple capabilities, if you may.
Sure, exactly.
and
They can do
putting
the
them
front
into one.
end.
They can do front end, back end,
They
hosting.
can do Python, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Good. Talk to us about, risks and ethics. I think we've spoken about.
Sure. I think, look, actionable advice. Whoever's listening, what can you go away and do, having listened to this?
Yeah.
Audit your funnel. Yeah. Think about where the leads are coming in and why you're losing them, where you're losing them.
Yeah.
I think this is step number one, is actually just analyze your current sort of state of lead generation, qualification, all the way through to conversion. I would then say your next step is to actually interact with AI tools like ChatGPT, free to use, or Grok. I mean, there's loads out there.
Which one are you personally using?
I use something called Manus AI.
Is this the new one that came out?
It's relatively new. It's like an AI agent, so it can.
This is the Manis thing that came out, 2 weeks to maybe a month?
Yeah,
It's
pretty new.
How are you on Manis?
But I do use ChatGPT a lot.
We will chat about Manis.
Sure.
Anyway.
I'll send you an invite code. But ChatGPT a lot, all the different models.
Yeah.
And even things like Zapier, which is more on the automation side, but
side,
connecting two different apps.
Yeah.
So I think, honestly, just first of all, understanding where your inefficiencies are in your funnel, and then literally ask that question to ChatGPT. Say, I'm having this problem. What do you think? But be kind, yeah? Don't be rude.
Then what ChatGPT go to life? Get to life.
Sure.
Fantastic.
And look, if you really want to scale up, and I think if you're in a position where you want somebody else to do this for you, end to end, book a call with us, and we'll try and help you. So I think those are your 3 actionable steps.
Fantastic.
Audit your funnel, use some free tools, and book a call when you're ready to really turbocharge your business.
I guess the question, the last piece, or the last question would be,
Sure.
Where are we on this booking call? So fine. Thank you. Well done.
Yeah.
What do I do if I want to talk to you?
Is a QR code up?
There's a QR code which should be up. Let's just check that the QR code is up and running.
Sure. Essentially, this QR code takes you to a calendar. Here I am speaking about not wanting to. Anyway,
it takes you to.
point you in the right direction.
No, fantastic. And I think that's important for us to get into conversations about what the future of AI is. And the reason why this is important to us at CCA is because we want our salespeople to be empowered with the right tools.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
I do not want to run an organization where our salespeople are still using manual booklets in the trade, right? Because then their asses will get kicked, right, in the trade.
You're 100% right. Really, I think the choice is either adopt or fall behind.
No,
so, it's a no-brainer, yeah.
Cool. So the QR code is up. I can see that.
Awesome.
But why don't you? Yeah. So anyway, so the QR code is up. I think we have about another 2 minutes to go. So maybe prepare your closing statement.
Sure.
Let me think about what I think the closing statement for myself would be. It would be something along the lines of, which camera are we using?
Middle one.
AI is here to stay, right? And I'm very clear that it is here to stay. Right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And therefore, instead of fighting it, I think what we really need to do is we need to get into the rhythm of learning and understanding AI tools as a starting point. And secondly, then being able to figure out quickly how to integrate those tools into our businesses, into our pieces of work. And I know for sure that AI makes life so much easier because I can see it already myself.
Sure.
I mean, the amount of work I'm able to get through now.
Yeah.
CEO and
Versus,
founder of an
yeah,
organization.
exactly.
Just with ChatGPT alone, if you just think ChatGPT myself, we're able to do contracts, we're able to do proposals, client emails, customer emails,
yeah.
hundreds of thousands of things that I can do. And with lead management, I just cannot imagine how much unlocking of business we will. And I think if we then unlock that business, then, a prosperous future is possible. Yeah, so, thank you very much, Mark. I'm going to give you the last honors to give the last, whatever, closing remarks.
Sure.
But I just wanted to say thank you very much for doing this
Kelvin.
with us.
Thanks, bro.
I should do this more often.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to chat.
Really enjoy the conversation.
Yeah.
Feels more like a podcast than a webinar,
Sure.
which is actually not a bad idea in itself.
Sure.
Maybe we figure out how we do this better. But yeah, what are your closing remarks, Sal?
First of all, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to a good partnership with Commercial Club of Africa.
Yeah.
Look, I think the time is now, guys. You're the ones losing out. It's either adopt and make a lot of cash and stay ahead, or not, which is fine. It's your choice, really. So if you need us, we're here. Rooted.
We are rooting for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Rooted
Yeah.
is rooting for you.
Yeah.
Is that where rooted comes from?
Well, rooted in Kenya, rooting for you, whatever you think is rooted, we are.
We are rooting for you. Fantastic, guys. Thank you very much. Good night from studio. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks.
Peace.
Are we good?
I like to give it a minute.